evening and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name's Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
Good to be talking to you, Zach, on another episode of Shakedown, the not quite the Super License show. There's no race. There's a few little things coming together now for it. It's becoming its own thing. It's taking its first tentative steps and into a new world and becoming its own thing. But this is not the Super License show. If you're looking for that, come back after next week's race. How are you doing this week, Zachary?
I'm doing good. I hope you're not scaring off all of our listeners. They're like, oh, this isn't super. I'm sure I pressed super.
Don't listen to this. It's not good.
Player. I'm sure that was super license. No? All right. I guess this is a different show. Yeah, I'm doing well. It's fine. The leaves are changing color. I'm getting I'm getting ready for, I was going to say getting ready for Halloween, but I don't do any Halloween stuff. Do you do any Halloween stuff? What would even Formula One Halloween even look like? Like, is there any fun, scary name things we can do with Formula One drivers to change their name into?
You could run around dressed up as Pastor Maldonado or something.
He's pretty scary.
Like that.
It's true.
Just flipping kids over. Get out of the way. No, Halloween. I mean, it's a tough one, Halloween, because we're Halloween enthusiasts in this family generally, but at the same time, we usually work jobs where we're like in the city, and then by the time we get home, kids are mostly tucked up in bed. So, and this year, there's signs in all the houses saying, no Halloween, blame COVID. Some places have it spelled, the COVID virus, the VIRIS. So I don't know that I would want to eat candy from a house that has a sign that can't spell the most famous word in the world right now.
Yes, that's fair enough. I've got one, by the way, Valtteri Bottas.
You did it. Well done.
Yep.
Like, we should do Halloween names for each other. So yours would be...
Is this Treehouse of Horror style?
Yes, Treehouse of Horror style, exactly.
Great.
Zach Exorcist instead of Zach Priest. See what I did there?
Oh, very good.
Getting there, kind of. It's a bit of a stretch. You do me. I'm already Gore. It's already Gordon.
Yeah, it would be Gore. It would be something like that, right? Gore, like Gore.
Yeah.
Like something gory. Or even Gory-Don is pretty good.
Gory-Don, yeah. It's not even Halloween for another week or two, but anyway, we're getting in early, as you should. You can't get in too early. Like, you can't get in too early with our Twitter poll. Every episode of Shakedown, we do a Twitter poll. This week's poll, you'll find out at the end of the episode what got the most votes. But this week's poll is, what name is better, Michael Hamacher or Lewis Schumilton? What would you vote for, Zach?
Schumilton, because it's fun to say.
Lewis Schumilton, yeah. Very good. Well, we'll find out at the end which one has the most votes. There is a clear leader pulling ahead, which is fun to see. So maybe we just have a bit of a quick look at some F1 news if there is any, Zach. The only things I've been pulling out are things like Ferrari looking to update their rear end for next year using some of their development tokens for that. And as a result of their crapness this year, Codemasters have been hard at work slowing their cars down virtually in the online game version, which is interesting. Like, you're so bad. We thought you'd be better, and we've had to slow you down in the game so that it's more realistic.
I had always just imagined that the game, all the cars were the same, that the stats were the same, that everything was the same, because I've noticed no difference when I race with the fast ones or the slow ones. It's just me. It's just how good am I? Maybe that's if you're a pro, if you're a esports pro gamer. Like, how does that work? If you're in the Formula One esports game, are there teams in that and the cars are different, or all the cars are exactly the same?
I think if you're all competing against each other, the cars are the same. I think it's more for the season simulations where it gets to the end and they're like, oh, wow, Charles Leclerc had 12 podiums. It's like, that's probably a bit unrealistic. Maybe we should pull that back. That kind of thing.
That's true. I can understand that, I guess.
That was just a tidbit, though.
It's a good one.
I don't know. Anything else caught your eye lately? We're off to Portimao. Maybe we're gonna debut a new segment soon called Zach Teaches. Zach, this is a name. So we're workshopping this name still. We're open to suggestions.
Yeah, I'm like the substitute teacher, the cool substitute teacher that's like, just call me by my first name. It's Zach. I'm not Mr. Priest. Just call me Zach.
Don't call me Mr. Exorcist. That's my father's name. Call me Zach.
You can't call me Mr. P either. That's not good.
No, don't want to be called that. Has that ever happened to you?
No, but now that I say it, it should have, because it's a great burn on me, Mr. P. There's Mr. P. Mr. P. I actually, I was in obviously I was in Greece last week. And obviously, I don't know why that's obviously. If you listen to last week's show, I recorded it from Greece. So
You said that you were there.
Walked past a pharmacy that was called Zachoropolis Pharmacy.
Zachoropolis.
Yep. Zachar. Zachoropolis.
That's like the
Opolos.
the guy in the office, like Mr. Charisma, Mr. Personality, walks around with his like two top buttons undone with his latte, and he's like, "Hey, happy Monday, Zacharino, Zachoropolis."
Yes, exactly that.
Shooting finger guns at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so, maybe it'll be the next. Maybe we'll call that Portimao preview segment Zachoropolis.
I reckon we do
teachers. Yeah.
It's like the Acropolis. What was the Acropolis for? Was that entertainment or was that lectures? Like grand speeches?
The Acropolis.
Yeah.
Isn't the Acropolis where you put your dead people? I want to say.
Oh, is it? I don't know. That's awful.
No, that's the Necropolis.
I don't know what it is.
No, that's Necropolis. No, the Acropolis is where the, it's where the, fucking hell. I've been there for the one in Athens. It's got the starts with P.
Right there in Athens.
It's at the top. It's got the Acropolis and the
Parthenon?
P is the name of the Parthenon. Yes. Thank you. Exactly that. Yeah, that's the one.
So wait.
It's up the top there.
Are you
That's at
saying
the Acropolis.
Are they the same thing? The Acropolis
No, the
and
Acropolis is the
Parthenon,
space and the Parthenon, I think, is the building.
Ah, that makes more sense. Okay, good. So anyway, you just said Zachoropolis and it reminded me of Acropolis and I was like, is there something there? Maybe not. Don't know.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. We did put out a call, as we will on Shakedown, for people to tweet us questions, email us questions, whatever. A little bit of banter kicked off, which I want to get into, and that will lead us into Zachoropolis for this week. Listener Michelle wrote in to say, this is in regards to my making fun of the way David Coulthard pronounces the word tattoo. That's how now I'm saying it. The word tattoo, he says it tattoo or something like that. So Michelle writes, when making fun of how that announcer pronounced tattoo, why no mention of how Rod pronounces Vettel? Very careful with how I pronounce that. So first up question, Zach, how do I say Vettel and is it wrong?
I don't...
Be me for a second. Channel me and say Vettel.
Vettel, I think is what you say. Vettel.
Vettel.
This is difficult.
This is what Michelle goes on to say. Sometimes Rod says Vettel, V-I-T-E-L-L. But sometimes he says it more traditionally. Just an observation. Love the podcast, and as a new F1 fan from America, I'm still getting used to the accents. So this is the key to it, I think, is that I speak too quickly, and I have a strong Australian accent where we go up for the first syllable, like aluminium, not aluminium. We go aluminium, Vettel, and then I just say it too quickly, and it comes out Vettel. Do you reckon?
Yes, I think that's probably it. I think that, it's the different emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yes.
Is the situation here. So, and also Germans pronounce the letter V as an F sound. So it's Vettel. And I think that
someone else also pointed this out as well.
It's almost one syllable, the whole thing. It's just Vettel. Like, it's not one. It's very, like, Sebastian Vettel. Deadpan delivery. You know, I mean, this is the thing, right? We don't call Valtteri Bottas. We don't put the thing on. But there is, I think, it comes up often because you don't want to make microaggressions and on purpose pronounce people's names incorrectly. That's not a good thing. So it's difficult though, because for something like Sebastian Vettel, and I say Vettel, I don't think I say Vettel like it's French. I think you say Vettel, I think like you're telling somebody something, and I say Vettel like it's spelled V-E-T-T-L-E as opposed to E-L. I think is the difference, probably. Vettel.
Yeah. I was going to say, listener or at least Twitter follower Paul Coulthard pointed out the main two ways that you can say it are just stressed in different way. Vettel, the way you would say, no, he says, well, he emphasizes the VE at the start. Vettel, the way you'd say kettle. But I'm like, that's not how you say it. Vettel, the way you'd say kettle, or Vettel. After more than a decade, I'm still not sure which one is correct.
I think it was the kettle. I think it's, you would never, I don't think you would say boil the kettle.
No, you would say boil the kettle.
Yeah, so say Vettel
boil
like
the
kettle.
Vettel.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is I will try harder in
Vettel.
the future.
No, but then we have to do everybody's names in ways that, I don't know, do we say Leclerc or he says Leclerc?
He says Charles Leclerc. Everyone else says Charles Leclerc. So what do you say?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
And Daniel Ricciardo quite famously at his time at Toro Rosso, the Italian team were always calling him Ricciardo because they were like, that's how you say his name here. I'll always remember.
I can say it.
There was an episode of, I want to say an episode of A Chef's Tour with Anthony Bourdain, really early on, I think, and he's going to London and they're talking to Gordon Ramsay before Anthony Bourdain turns up. And Gordon Ramsay's like, well, today, I'm really excited because we've got Anthony Bourdain coming in today. And I'm like, you just said his name as you think it should be said. Because they don't say Anthony here, they say Anthony, and Bourdain and Gordon Ramsay, French taught chef and spent a lot of time in France, would be like, that's Bourdain, not Bourdain or Bourdain, it's Bourdain. So I just, it was so Gordon Ramsay to be like, it's Anthony Bourdain. And it wouldn't surprise me if he'd said it to his face. Like, you say your name wrongly. It's said this way. So, the only person who can tell us on the Vettel thing is Sebastian himself. And I can't imagine him ever doing anything as fun or as interesting as a video telling people how to say his name.
No, absolutely very true. I'm sure there's countless times that he said his name on video that we could check. I'm not going to look it up. I'd rather just offer my apologies, but say I'm 40 years old, I'm set in my ways, and I'm afraid change is just not going to happen. So I apologize if pronouncing drivers' names that way sets you, off kilter. That's the last thing I'm trying to do. It's not on purpose, but I do apologize. But yeah, speaking about that, I don't know, is it time to get into Zachoropolis?
Yeah, because it's a nice segue because we don't know how to say this track name. Portimao. Portimao?
Oh,
Portimao.
I think it's Portimao, but I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that there's going to be 66 laps, Rod. 66 laps. I can also remember the most I learned about Portimao this weekend was there was an episode of A Place in the Sun on television. Have you seen this show, A Place in the Sun?
Mm-mm.
No, this is where British couples go around with a host who is also a realtor, and they find a holiday home for them to purchase in a location of their choice. And I've been to the Algarve, but I don't think I've been to Portimao. And just randomly switched on the television. They're like, hey, this week on A Place in the Sun, we're going to be looking for, Jenny and Jonathan. They're going to be looking for a place in Portimao. And I was like, Portimao! There's a Grand Prix there this weekend. Okay. What are the chances? I wonder if they'll be able to see the track from their very small balcony. But
imagine
the other
that
thing,
though. They're like, here's the place, upstairs, downstairs, with servants' quarters, overlooking the Portimao circuit. Although, don't get your hopes up for an F1 race here.
Yeah, you'll never be annoyed by the loud noises because they never come here. And then
exactly. Do you hate loud noises? Well, you'll love this place.
I have to say, do you think this is a different question now? We'll come back to Portimao.
Oh, good. That's okay.
Are the Formula One cars more or less annoying with these engines and the engine note than the previous high revving 18,000 RPM sound?
I mean, the whole problem before was how quiet it was, but then some people would still say, yeah, not only is it quiet, but it sounds worse. Obviously, like the addition of the top gear to make them rev even less just reduces that even more. So I don't know. I just notice it way less.
Yeah.
Which is, if you don't like the sound and you hear it less, then it's a good thing, right?
Yeah. It's very whoppy. When I've heard it in real life, it's very kind of like,
maybe.
Whap. And I don't know. It doesn't, it's not a sound I would equate with a high performance vehicle.
No. Yeah, I get that.
Maybe.
That's valid.
So anyway, yeah, I'm just wondering if you lived if you lived in Albert Park and I lived pretty close to the circuit when I lived in Melbourne, in St Kilda, and I remember being able to hear the race cars a long way away, and it was great hearing them a long way away because the sound was really interesting. And now, being up close though and hearing the kind of bwap sound, it just doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't sound high performance, which is a funny thing, but it's probably less annoying, I would say. Anyway.
Hopefully they can fix that.
Portimao, I was looking at some overhead shots of this track. I think that, what was I thinking? Who tweeted this? Anyway, someone was tweeting it's going to be interesting to run the track when they're there, one of the journalists, which is great. But I remember looking at it going like, which direction does this track go? It's hard to tell. Like, it wasn't immediately obvious. I was like, is this clockwise? Is it anti-clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on which part of the world you're from? Which way does it go? And I was just following it through. And the funny thing was, the photo had motorbikes on it, but they were so small and so low res that I couldn't zoom in to see which way they were going.
They kind of kind of asymmetrical as well. Like,
Yeah.
unless you're
So
unless you're a lot closer, it's hard to tell which way the motorbike's even pointing.
Exactly. So I would say, looking at the track, just like that, you could race it either direction, and maybe it was designed for that. But now looking at the Formula1.com website and looking at the Portugal circuit, Autodromo Internacional de Algarve, which is the region. Good beaches in the Algarve, by the way. We won't see them.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll see beautiful shots of the beaches from the helicopter, and then the track is nowhere near the beach.
During Crofty's introduction, yeah, we will.
Oh, yeah. You haven't done one of these introductions for a long time. Maybe we
I gave it up. I did it for a whole year, but then I parked
It was too much. So hard. It's some of the best work you've done, though.
You know.
Interestingly, people have been saying this track is kind of insane. You've seen pictures of it, right? Or maybe you're looking at a picture now. Lots of fun, really tight, slow corners.
Okay.
I especially think that we're going to get a nice. Let me give you a bet here. I reckon corner 1, it's pretty sharp, right? And we're not quite talking right angle, but it's going to be quick-ish. And then into corner 2 is barely a corner, an elbow bend, you would say, but then into almost a hairpin for turn 3. I reckon we're going to be like 4 or 5 cars wide into that first corner. We're going to see sparks. And because nobody's practiced it really in racing circumstances, I think we're going to see some sparks fly, some carbon fiber be obliterated, front wings disappear, because it's not going to be so slow that everybody's going to tow and just be really careful. What else would you like to know, Rod? 66 laps. Is that a lot? There's no lap record, so we have no idea how long the race is going to take either. So maybe it'll be a late one for you. 66 laps seems like a lot of laps.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any information about the MotoGP lap times?
Oh, gee.
It's okay if there's not. That's totally. I thought you on the Wikipedia there might be, but if you're looking at the F1 website, there probably won't be. Would there?
I
was just thinking that when we went to that other track that we were at recently, was it Mugello maybe, where they race MotoGP, that the F1 time was just so much faster. I was like, well, if we could look at the MotoGP time for this track and then take off, 30% of it or something, we might be able to get something roughly equivalent.
The GP circuit, A1 GP set a lap record of 1 minute 31. The motorcycling circuit, which is the same length, maybe slightly longer, set a 1 minute 42. So
1 minute
max
42. So F1 car probably, we're probably still looking at something like 1 minute 10 or something, aren't we? So times 66. It's still about an hour and a half, but
yeah, I reckon. I mean, that's what they shoot
that's
for.
That's what the back of this envelope is telling me.
Yeah. I'm in the back of Rod's envelope. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. When was its first Grand Prix? Portimao, like Mugello, another track that joined the F1 calendar in 2020, has never hosted a Formula One World Championship event. The track was used for pre-season testing in 2008, 2009, while several drivers on the grid, including Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, and Valtteri Bottas, experienced the Portuguese circuit during their junior careers. So look out for those 3. There's your podium right there. Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, and Valtteri Bottas. Now, does Cyril Abiteboul have to get a different tattoo for every podium, or is it only the first podium that Daniel Ricciardo gets?
I feel like he has to score a podium? We haven't even heard yet, have we? What the tattoo was,
or is, or what the timeline is? Like, does he just have to get it at some point in his life? Or did it have to be that day?
It might have to be like, you have to add something. So if it was like Bugs Bunny, then all of a sudden you got to add like Bugs Bunny dressed up as a woman. And then if he gets another podium, you've got to add,
Donald, Daffy.
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just sort of, it grows with every podium. I like that. Like that.
And then you get the full Space Jam in there eventually.
Do you get the full Space Jam? Any other factoids about Portimao that you need to share with me?
Well, Rod, would you like to know what the Formula One website says under the "What's the circuit like"? Apparently, it's rather like Austin's Circuit of the Americas. We love COTA, don't we? Modern venue with elevation change baked into its layout. I didn't know you had to bake a Formula One track. Interesting. You need a big oven to bake a Formula One track. The Ricardo Pena designed 4.6 kilometre lap sends drivers swooping up a hill and down dale before culminating in a plunge down to the final right-hander at Galp, leading back into the pit straight. These are the names of the corners, I want to say.
But uphill and down dale, like really? In an F1 track description?
I've never heard down dale, other than a dog called Dale jumping on someone, being told off. Is that the opposite
That's
of
probably
uphill?
what it's a reference to.
You run uphill and you walk uphill and run
Uphill
down
and
Dale.
Yeah.
Guys, he just ran down Dale. Oh, God.
Oh,
Poor
boy.
police. Gulp. Gulp must be the name of the corner, right? Let's see if the Wikipedia site has the name of all of the corners on it. No, it doesn't seem to. I'm sorry. Sorry, there's nothing
This
to
is
report
the
there.
amazing insights that people tune into this show for.
It just doesn't seem to be.
I don't know what the answer is. Let me Wikipedia.
A1 Team New
It's not on
Zealanders
Wikipedia.
driver Earl Bamber observed that there are many special turns with personality. He commented that the new circuit is a little bit dangerous, like the old school circuits with a roller coaster ride. A1 Team France's driver Nicolas Prost commented that the asphalt was new and the circuit has little grip. That was in 2008-9. The first episode of the Grand Tour was shot there in 2016. That featured, I want to say, the Porsche 918, I want to say the McLaren MP1, and another really fast car, I want to say, when they talked about hybrid cars and how fast they were and which ones were the best ones. But that must have been shot at Portimao. Fast track. Nice long straight. Maybe that's what they were testing.
Wonderful.
So,
Wunderbar.
are you excited, Rod, is the big question for Portimao. A new place. Hopefully it's sunny, not too cold. This is what we'll do. What's the weather in Portimao right now?
That's what you got to do. I'll pad for time while you Google that. I am excited for there to be an F1 race. I am excited for it to be at a new track. Not so crazy about the midnight race start time for me, but I guess you just got to live with that, especially if it's only going to be an hour and a half. Maybe I'll just tune in at the start and watch the first half an hour, then see how it goes. But it may be, I might need to pull up stumps before the end of the race.
Yes. There's an funny accent, not funny. There's an accent over the A in Portimao. So I wonder if that's what makes it more of an ow sound.
Get this down by next episode, I promise.
So it's raining there today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. Clouds on Saturday, rain on Sunday. So we might be in for a wet
Pack an
race.
umbrella if you're on your way.
Yes, exactly. Pack
Great.
the wets. Pack the wets, Rod.
Well,
I'd be
I feel
excited for a
prepared.
wet race.
Yeah, get your hopes up for a wet race. There you go. New track,
Rod,
wet race.
no,
It's
before we
gonna
go,
off.
these are the questions that go on this is the F1 side again. So the questions are, when was the track built? When was its first Grand Prix? What's the circuit like? Why go is one
Why
of these
go?
questions. Why go?
You might be asking yourself, why go? It's a great question.
Do you want the answer?
Yes.
While the track itself is a world-class facility, its location in the Algarve puts you squarely in one of Europe's most popular tourist detrimental destinations. Such a nice area, in fact, that it's where Ayrton Senna chose to set up his European home just an hour down the coast from the track in Almansil. Weird thing to say, I would say, this year about, like, why go? I feel like you could have just not had that because people aren't going to go because COVID. I mean, it's the only reason the track is on the calendar is because COVID.
I can only maybe wonder that every track description has that. But if not, then yeah, I agree. It is a very weird thing to add. But I am a big fan of, like, if you're going to put it for some tracks, put it for all. If you're going to say why go to Monaco, you should also say why go to Portimao.
You know where we won't be going, though?
I mean,
Vietnamese Grand Prix is not on this year. Got cancelled.
no,
There's
it's
some
been
news.
cancelled.
Yeah, we all knew that.
No, that's true. It had been delayed, but it was like, you mean cancelled, right? the other news is the Turkish Grand Prix was going to have fans. They wanted to have a lot of fans. They're not going to have any fans. Which another pretty predictable announcement. I've got an announcement to make, which is the winner of our Twitter poll. So that question again. What's the better name, Michael Hamacher or Lewis Schumilton? With about roughly 1/3 of the votes, Michael Hamacher, which means the big winner, 64%, Lewis Schumilton, because of course it is. That's the fun name. That's the good option. Congratulations to everyone who voted for that option. You are this week's winners, and a prize pack is in the mail on its way to you.
That's so nice. So kind of you to do all of
It
that.
is so nice. I forgot to, before I threw to that, I forgot to prompt you to say, hey, think of a recommendation, and then we'll get that on the other side of this. And now we're on the other side of this, but I'm going to have to throw you on the spot. Zach, any recommendations from you?
Gee whiz. Absolutely gee whiz.
How about then I go first?
No, because I'm scared you're going to steal mine.
Okay.
All Consuming, the podcast from Adam Lissagor and Thingy. Did you bring this up on another show?
No, and that was not going to be my pick, but I was going to touch base with you after the show to make sure you had it and heard of it, because I only heard of it today. And I heard the first one and thought it was okay.
So Noah Kalina and Adam Lissagore of Sandwich Video fame, also from my favorite podcast ever, You Look Nice Today. If you aren't listening to that or haven't gone back and listened to the originals, they are my favorite thing in the podcasting world, other than my own show, obviously. And then they recently came back and have done a video podcast series, like a live stream podcast video series as well. Classic. Like, You Look Nice Today is just the classic horrible thing of like three white guys sitting around chatting. But it's non sequitur and it's all over the shop and it's fun and interesting. Were you ever a fan of that show? This feels like one of the things that you would have hated because you don't like Merlin Mann, but I loved because I like Merlin Mann.
Yeah, it's one of those shows with three guys in them, and this seems to happen all the time. If you get three guys on a podcast, I'll love one, I'll hate one, and I'll feel completely ambivalent about the other one. And that's pretty much how I feel about that show as well. But love Adam Lissagore and excited to see this other show. So this show that you're talking about is where they review consumer products. The first episode is sort of vegan meat substitute chicken nuggets. I listened to that one today, and it was slightly too long, but apart from that, I thought it was good, and I'm going to stick with it. Yes, I think they are. If you expect them to be like a Shakedown style, really short, really to the point, really, no wandering, no tangents, anything like that. They're not quite like that, but yeah, specifically, I love the idea that it is the direct to consumer products that like get advertised to you algorithmically on Instagram. Like that's the feel about it. It's all the things you see ads for. You're like, I didn't know that needed to be disrupted. Do I need a pillow cube? Maybe. Yes.
I mean, I thought my pillow was okay, but I mean, if you're promising me the world, I would like two guys that I've kind of like, but aren't professional product reviewers to review it in a way. And that always leads to comment on like consumerism and capitalism and like the way people buy things or use things or whether they would continue to buy them or not. And it's really fun. And doesn't ask anything of you, the listener. Unlike this show, which asks you to listen all the time. So yeah, that is my suggestion.
It is a good one.
Recommendation. What about you?
Very well done. My recommendation is something I've been going through the back catalogue of at the moment. It is it's a YouTube live streaming show called Happening, and this is hosted by Tim Batt, one of the two guys who hosts the Worst Idea of All Time podcast, which I keep fucking banging on about on this thing, but it's really good. He does a weekly art show. The idea is we're in lockdown, please send me your art and I will share it. That's the idea of his show. But one of the things that actually people who listen to the show don't know that we have a pre-show ritual where my setup completely fucks up and I rant at Zach for about 20 minutes about it. But what makes me feel better when I watch Happening is watching Tim Batt, a guy flying solo, trying to manage multiple cameras, integrate Skype feeds, show music, show videos, bring up all kinds of media, and half of the fun is him and the stuff he shows, and the other half is watching him fumble around and fuck things up and have people talking to people on Skype and you can't hear them or you can't see him. And it's just a fucking delight. So that's my recommendation is Happening show. It's taking a break for a couple of weeks, but there's like 35 episodes or something. So if you want something really stupid to put on in the background that you don't have to pay attention to, that's a really good one. Another quick recommendation is an iPhone game. I think it's out on a few other platforms. I've been playing a little bit of this. It's called Daddish. He's a dad. He's a radish. He's Daddish. And this is an 8-bit platformer. If you like those kinds of things, this is one more of those. That's all I have to say about that. Daddish. Wow.
You prompted me to think of the other, the iPhone game I've been playing a lot of, which is, of course, Good Sudoku. By Zach Gage and Jake Schlesinger. Zach Gage's games are fantastic. They're always like a spin on a traditional game you know a lot of. Really Bad Chess was another one I played a huge amount of, which was basically the idea of you play chess, but you want to get better at it. It basically, did you ever play this, Really Bad Chess?
No, never played.
No. It was basically the setup was that you played an AI, but the AI doesn't get better or worse. It stays exactly the same. But the pieces that you get to start the game with are different depending on your ability. So you start at minus 100 or minus 50, I want to say. And so you have like 3 queens, like 4 knights,
yes,
like basically no
genius.
pawns. And the other side has like basically all pawns. And as you beat the computer, the pieces start to even out. And then when you get to 0, the balance shifts. And so the computer starts getting better pieces and you start getting less pieces. And it is an outstanding way to rethink chess and how you think about those kinds of games. But the new one, really good good Sudoku, is basically implements all of the tactics that Sudoku players know to use, like noting possible cells, and like it teaches you how to get faster at solving Sudoku and better at solving Sudoku by making all of the kind of interface changes more available. So you can like tap on the number 6 and it will show you all the possible places that a 6 can go. And then you could quickly identify the places that, like, instead of you manually going through and being like, oh, where could this go? Here, go, here. It's like, oh, I can only go there. Great. And you can fill those in really, really quickly and get to the harder parts of the puzzle. And it's got me solving like the intermediate or like the okay puzzles I can solve in like less than 2 minutes. And then the really hard puzzles that I never would have been able to solve, I can actually solve now. So really, really, really fun. You should definitely pay for it. I love all the Zach Gage games. Pocket Run's amazing, which is a pool game. Like, just, get into it. I'm going to go download Dadish after this right now. That is the least Formula One thing we could have talked about. We've done it.
Pretty much. But that's okay. People need something to get them through from now to the race weekend. And that's a couple of days. And, chess, Sudoku, neuroplasticity. You got to love it.
Yes. Oh, neuroplasticity. Dadish. Oh, this is fucking great.
That's $100 word on a $5 podcast. We might wrap it up there, Zach. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We're going to talk again after Portimao. Again, I assume you're going to be watching it with some kind of delicious beer sitting in your wonderful abode.
A Sagres or a Superboc would be the 2 Portuguese beers that I know. If I can find a craft Portuguese beer, terrific. But Sagres will be the one I'll be having. Let us know on Twitter if you're more of a Sagres or a Superboc person. I think one's from the north, one's from the south. So please tweet us Sagres or Superboc. Hashtag who Porto knows.
Team Superboc or Team Sagres.
Yes, there we go. Use those hashtags.
Make them famous. Well, we're done. That's Shakedown episode 3. We'll see you after Portimao for a proper episode of Super License. And until then, my name's been Rodney.
My name's been Zachoropolis.
We'll see you after that one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, yeah.